What soldiers really carried in WWII. Shocking everyday items. You won't believe it wasn't just guns and grenades that soldiers took to war. In the mud-drenched trenches of Europe, deep in the jungles of the Pacific, and across North Africa's scorched sands, men went into battle carrying not only the weapons of war, but pieces of home, a photograph of a sweetheart, a small Bible, a child's drawing folded in a shirt pocket. These weren't just objects. They were anchors to sanity, reminders of life beyond the carnage. Private First Class James Delaney of the U.S. Army once wrote in a letter, "It's not the rifle that keeps me alive. It's this photo of my mother." He tucked that photo inside a tin of cigarettes, sealing it from the rain and blood. Soldiers in World War II carried regulation gear, helmets, canteens, mess kits, rations. But what made their backpacks heavy weren't just supplies, they were memories. American GIs often carried Hershey's chocolate bars not just to eat, but to trade or give to starving children in war-torn villages. British Tommies had tea bags. Yes, in the midst of a firefight, some would risk boiling water over a tiny stove just to sip something familiar. A warm cup of tea in a world gone mad. German soldiers were issued small shaving kits, but many added their own touches. A harmonica, a leather-bound copy of Goethe. In fact, music was a secret weapon for many. A harmonica could lift an entire platoon's spirit. Just imagine it, gunfire fading, nightfall settling in, and one soldier playing a soft, trembling tune. It was a thread of humanity in the fabric of war. Japanese soldiers, deeply rooted in cultural tradition, often carried senninbari, 1,000-stitch belts, stitched by 1,000 women, often family or neighbors. These cloth talismans were believed to protect the wearer from bullets. It wasn't superstition, it was faith sewn into fabric. Meanwhile, civilians weren't just passive bystanders, they had their own survival kits. In London during the Blitz, children carried gas masks shaped like Mickey Mouse. Can you picture that? A child running to a bomb shelter, clutching a toy-shaped mask meant to keep them breathing during chemical attacks. In Warsaw, mothers stuffed bread crusts and dry beans into their children's pockets before they ventured out. Not snacks, emergency food in case they got separated. In rural France, resistance fighters kept maps carved into the soles of their shoes. If caught, their secret could vanish underfoot. Then there was the Italian partisan, Maria Rossi. She carried a pistol in her handbag, yes, but also a rosary and a lock of her dead brother's hair wrapped in a silk ribbon. It was her war gear. It was her grief. These weren't just objects. They were stories. They were love. They were survival. Soldiers also found clever ways to adapt everyday objects. American troops turned empty ration tins into makeshift stoves. Some fashioned spoons into lockpicks. Others hollowed out books to hide contraband. On the Eastern Front, Soviet soldiers, freezing and desperate, would stuff newspapers into their boots for insulation. They wrote messages on the pages, sometimes love notes, sometimes poetry, and sometimes goodbyes. And yet, amid all this, there were small bursts of joy. French civilians in occupied villages would slip handwritten jokes into the hands of Allied soldiers. Children drew chalk hearts on the backs of tanks. And in the Pacific, American medics sometimes carried stuffed animals to calm frightened locals during evacuations. There was a U.S. Marine named Eddie who carried a baseball throughout the entire island-hopping campaign. Every beach he landed on, he'd write the name on it in ink. Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan. That ball became his journal, his way of remembering not just where he fought, but what he survived. So when you picture World War II, don't just imagine steel helmets and camouflage jackets. Imagine a teddy bear, torn and dirty, tied to a soldier's rucksack. Imagine a soldier kneeling to fix a photo inside his helmet. Imagine a tea bag, a lipstick-stained letter, a music box that still plays through the smoke. Because behind every uniform was a person, frightened, determined, and desperate to hold on to something real.
History connects us all. What's your view on this event topic? Comment your thoughts below. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting facts.